Welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of Unapologetically Strong on WOVU 95.9 FM. Welcome to Wednesdays. Happy Wednesday. What is this? Valentine's Day and all that other good stuff. So today we got a couple special guests. These are some brothers that I met over 2023. I met these brothers. I'm gonna go ahead and introduce them and make sure I got which mic they doing. But so let me go back a little bit. So a little bit before 2023, I noticed there were some struggles that I'd had. So, being a mental health provider, there's just things that you gotta pay attention, about yourself. So there were some things that I noticed. And so for 2023, I purposefully decided to create and make better relationships with Black males. Yeah, that's weird because I am a Black male, and you would think that most Black men have relationships with Black men, but that is not true. So through therapy, yes, like I always say, I attend therapy. Through therapy, I realized some of the things that went on that just roughly down the street from where this station is located to where my uncle would actually, because if you don't know, I'm light skinned and I'm also thin, to where he would say, he would actually, he told my mom, you got to toughen that boy up. And so what he would do is he would get all of the neighborhood kids together and we would fight in the front. And so although that, to be perfectly candid, it did come in handy as I grew up, but it did cause some emotional scars, but that's neither here nor there. And so over the time we realized, or myself and my therapist realized, that this is something that needs to be explored. So what I did was purposefully decided to be uncomfortable. And it actually wasn't all that uncomfortable. I'm gonna be honest with you, because these brothers that we about to talk to today are some phenomenal brothers. So the first brother that I met, to be perfectly candid, is the one and only Marcus Glenn. What's going on, Marcus?
Hey, Eric.
You got to come up to the mic, man. Come on.
Okay. I'm up on the mic. I'm ready.
So I saw this brother. I was a part of the Art Therapy Studios board at one time, and one of their members actually passed away. And they had a benefit. I think it was a benefit, yes. Right? It was a benefit. And so what I did was I went, and I didn't want to go because my wife told me to go. And there was only two, Black. Well, it was three, Black and brown. Four, because your kids was there.
Yes, they were.
4 Black and brown people in the area. And so Marcus walked up to me. He was like, "Hey, Ruh, you it. So let's talk." And so I talked to Marcus, and then he introduced me to a group of individuals. And so what I'm going to do is just bring on the 2 group of individuals that I met. So he brought me to a place that I thought I was going to get jacked. I'm going to be honest, that night. What? I'm just,
come on. I wouldn't do that.
No.
I wouldn't do that.
Because I know now. And so I went in, and so it was some amazing brothers that one of them I knew. Right. I knew one, but it was some amazing brothers that was in this room. And so I'm going to go through and introduce from, so we got Marcus was there, and then we got Quentin Ferguson Jr. What's up, man?
Hey, what's going on?
Come on, man. You got to come up to the mic.
All right,
Quentin got that smooth body. Now, this is the other part, though. Marcus is the only one that got hair up in here, but we're not going to talk about that. And then we got Jerome Smith. Come on up, Jerome, man.
Eric, appreciate you having me on. Good morning, or afternoon, I should say.
Yeah, it is. So yeah, Marcus is the only one that got hair. So just so that y'all know. But anyway, I met you guys, and like I said, I met Marcus first, but then I met you two. So, let's start with, because you designated Quentin as the spokesperson for what you do as a collective. So I'm gonna let him speak next. But today we're gonna talk about how we can be our brother's keepers. And so just like anything else in this world, we have to figure out how best to connect. And so our community is definitely crying. Right. Our community has been crying for at least 40 years now. Yes. And it's weird that I can put it in that terms, but it's been 40 years now, and we were talking about Brenda's got a baby, right? If Brenda would be a grandmother right now, and her grandchild would be 7 years old. If you go back to what, Tupac was that in 1991. At any case, our community for years have been a bit off. And so when Marcus invited me, to speak to you brothers, it was just amazing. So Quentin, I'm go ahead and bring you in as the designated individual to talk about your networking. Go for it.
Yeah, well, Eric, first of all, thank you for having us on.
Oh, you good.
Yeah, so, and thanks to these guys, because we have an experience much like that you were describing. Mm-hmm. I'll extend it a little bit further. We hear coming out of the pandemic that there's an epidemic of loneliness amongst, the general population. Mm-hmm. And that extends even, further into the Black and brown community. So that's something I was keyed in on. With all of you, I've had some conversations. You mentioned challenges, Eric.
Mm-hmm.
We've all gone through our personal challenges, and we need a tribe to, be there for us so that we can navigate through that. But that's kind of like the origin of Cleveland Black Business Network. So Cleveland BBN, as we call it, formally started in 2021, just at the end of the pandemic. And it started with a conversation between Jerome and myself. So, Cleveland BBN stands on really 4 pillars, and one of those being networking, second one being wellness, that's emotional and physical, third one being financial literacy and investing, and then the last piece is giving back to the community and philanthropy. So
love it.
6 members, we're half of that group. We're interdisciplinary. We represent banking, risk management, nonprofit, wealth management. And together, we try to make each other better, and we try to give back to our community.
Love it.
We try to network and actually, receive. Like yourself contributing to our overall wellness. So
I appreciate that. I appreciate that, man. I appreciate everything. So Jerome, you are, why you smile like that? You are actually, someone that have been on the radio. So back, what was it? 2 months ago, we had a 50th, because I turned 50, or I turned 49, but you get my point. But I had one of my friends on, and we were talking about hip hop. And I apologize for this. After we had the show, I think I talked to Quentin and Marcus afterwards, and I was like, "Ooh, I should have had Jerome on." So you are a official old head of the radio station. What's up with that? So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, this brings back memories being in the studio of how you have to come in, you have to be disciplined with, number one, being on time.
Right.
Number 2, being able to hit the spots when it comes to commercials, when it comes to the music, intro, outro, bringing back to memories. But I always like the radio platform because it's the original form of voice within the inner city.
Right.
You go to the terrestrial radio and you hear 93 or you hear 107.9 or you hear 95.9, which is where we are today. And that's the easiest form of communication because not everybody has a television.
Right.
We have cell phones. A lot of times things are on cell phones, but the timing of the information that's on a cell phone takes some time to get to you.
Yeah.
So the radio station, whether you're in a car, you're at home, whether you have a clock radio alarm, you can actually pull on a dial, AM, FM, you can hear stations. And so to me, that's the purest form of communication and one that our community really, really still needs. And it's good to have a station like this one that still thinks about that and still wants to be that pillar.
Yeah. And everybody says the exact same thing. When they drive by, they had absolutely no clue that this was here, right? They had no clue. So the more that we can get out and talk a little bit more about just absolutely anything, because this station, is Burton Bell Car. So they're owners, and it's community radio.
Sure.
And it's purposefully community, right? So they bring individuals that have something to say within the community. Now, speaking of community, so Marcus, each individual here has their own title, right? So they have their own occupation along with the what you do, but you are one of the few that I know that, have the opportunity to do that hands-on work. You work for, I don't know, did you want to say it?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Growth Opportunity Partners, known as Growth Ops here in Cleveland. So it gives me an opportunity to do what I've always done, just be in the community, be able to share my thoughts, be able to have an impact on the community in a way that I think is unique, and that I get to talk to individuals like you that are small business owner.
Yep.
I'm able to get involved with things with our youth and mentorship. I'm able to connect with emerging professionals and seasoned professionals like these gentlemen that I'm here with today. So it gives me an opportunity to touch the community at a lot of different touch points. That makes it really meaningful work. You know, like for me, I get to do, what I love and what I would do even if it wasn't my occupation.
Gotcha. And Quentin, you work in the insurance industry, right?
Yeah. And I like to broaden it because insurance people, tend to zone out when I start saying insurance, but that's part of what I do.
Right.
Really, it's about risk management. And so I work with businesses and it's about protecting their assets, protecting their balance sheet. And all of us need to do that, whether it be home or car, they're just on a different level and they've got different concerns. But we work with those companies to make sure they protect that.
Okay.
And then also, we'd like to say we're business partners too, because it's about the bottom line as well.
Gotcha.
So how do you cost efficiently do that?
Gotcha.
And, I think that's an area of opportunity for our community as well. So working with, Black owned businesses is something that I key on personally as well.
Definitely. And working with the money part. So we're not going to just keep going down this line. And also, if anybody noticed, Marcus is from New Jersey. So anytime he says Eric, he says it in that New Jersey way. So Quentin, you from here, is that right? Yeah, okay. Yeah. And Jerome, I know you grew up around the corner, right?
Raised.
There you go. Yep. So so the money part, one of the things that Jerome did for me is he looked at all of my money in all of my books. And so you, first of all, you work with Erie Bank. One of the few.
Experience better banking.
You gonna give a promo? But no, I'm just kidding. But one of the few, Black individuals or Black bankers, you come up, through all of them. So my uncle is Rufus Hurd. That dude has been in the banking industry forever. Yes. And so you've actually worked with my uncle. So
that's right.
Tell us about this whole concept and working with, you working in the banking industry, because let me go backwards. What you did was took all of my information, all of my profit and loss and whatever, and said, all right, Eric, you need to make it to this ratio number. And I said, all right, so you're going to give me like 3 years to make it to this ratio number. But yet and still, you speak the language of banking, and that's what most small businesses need. Can you talk about that?
Sure thing. So you mentioned financial literacy, and that's something that our bank has a passion to spread that education around the area. And so for me, one of the rushes that I get in my everyday job is to talk to business owners like yourself, those that want to be financially educated on, okay, where am I at now? All right. Am I at a point where this is appropriate to be considered satisfactory for a bank? Mm-hmm. And if I'm not there, okay, tell me how I need to get there.
Okay.
And to me, I call it as free advice, because if you were to go to your accountant or go to a lawyer for advice, you have to pay for that.
Exactly.
Where for me, I have those conversations every day, multiple times a day in some cases, and I'm more looking for the comprehension from your end, but also for you to be able to feel the comfort and the security to be able to talk to me one-on-one and follow up, accordingly as you're going through your I don't want to say turnaround, but as you're looking to improve your situation.
No, it's for real.
And then sort of have that dialogue and just continue to talk to one another. And if obviously things were to come up that could help the situation, bring it up to one another. And so when you and I sat down and we kind of went over it, that was what I wanted to convey to you. And for anybody else who, wants to kind of get some free advice, that's what your banker should be doing for you if you have a true relationship with them. Yeah. It shouldn't just be a vendor and, customer, because a vendor is a dime a dozen, where your banker should be your business partner that you would sort of keep in the same eye as your financial advisor, or we have a partner of ours that's a financial advisor, Justin Horton, who's not here, but he's a part of our group. He's a financial advisor. Or if you have a lawyer like our other partner, Mark Young, et cetera. Though, you should have your banker at that same level, because it's all about partnerships and all about working together and being resources to one another.
Okay. So we're going to take a quick break. And on the other side, we have a standard question that I ask all of the guests. And that question is, where do you find your strength? So you got about a minute and some change to come up with a good one. All right. So where you find your strength? So we're going to take a quick break. On the other side, we're going to bring these brothers back in, not black in, but definitely back in. This is 95.9 FM WOVU. Welcome back to Unapologetically Strong. I have my guests, Marcus, Quentin, and Jerome. All these brothers are doing great things in the community. So on the other side, we were talking about I usually ask a question. So my first question that I would like to ask or just go into is based off of, so you said that, Quentin, you said that there were similar stories that you had as it relates to, dealing with Black men. So looking back, or even right now, how do you find your strength?
Great question. Sounds so simple, but
yeah,
it can get deep. But yeah, you're right. I found kind of that same, experience. And I don't know if you guys don't mind, I'll tell you about an evolution
go ahead.
That I've had. So, when I initially thought about this question, I think about the experience that I had. A lot of you can relate. You had to figure a lot of things out. We didn't necessarily have maybe all of the answers or all of the guidance. Mm-hmm. And so I think in years past, as a young man, I found strength from experience and doing things and figuring it out and having some successes that way. But what I found is that's a very inefficient. We talked about loneliness. It can also be a lonely way of kind of navigating the world. And so recently in a career exercise, a leadership exercise, I was asked, what do you do? Mm-hmm. And not to talk about profession or the skill sets. And through some exploration, I found that I'm a collaborator. I bring together people.
Which explains them. Right.
Which explains that. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned your journey last year. Right. Really connect with people. And I found myself on the same journey. So I would say I find my strength in my tribe. Good. So, talking about financial literacy, Jerome, talked to Marcus just a few days ago about currency, and kind of navigating some of those waters where I don't have experience. Mm-hmm. And so I've found that through, whether it be family, immediate and extended, or brotherhood and friendships. This tribe is where I derive a lot of my strength.
Good. So the other part is that collectivism, which I enjoy. And you brought in, like you said, you were, and actually like Jerome and Marcus said, to be honest, you were the individual that brought individuals together. And so we find strength, especially with Black men, in a different type of collectivism, right? So we have fraternities, we have gangs, we have other stuff that Black men gravitate towards. This is something just a bit different. I mean, networking. So Jerome, I'm gonna pop over to you. Given all that you do, I mean, let's be perfectly honest, being a banker can, definitely not be the easiest thing, right? So you see somebody sitting across from you that looks like you, that has a small business, may even grew up in a neighborhood that you grew up in. That got to be tough. So when you have those days and you have those moments, where do you allow yourself to reach down into and grab that strength?
That's a great question, Eric. I think what's missing when it comes to business owners that look like us is just the education and knowledge of what their options are.
Yeah.
They typically, a lot of them would go with what someone else has told them that's in their similar situation. Mm-hmm. And they haven't really done the research or done the networking, as Quentin mentioned, to be able to see if there's any other option. I would say if there's one thing I would sort of recommend to business owners, Black and brown, is when you talk to someone that looks like you, just, I would say, put all the cards on the table, like you did, Eric. I mean, that's always the best thing to do, because a lot of times when you do that, when you're honest, it sort of helps with the education as far as what the solution could be.
Yeah.
Not trying to give a long story, but I recently sat down with a business owner that looked like me, and he just was very guarded with his information that he was sharing with me. And I kind of said, I would like to be able to help you, but I need to know more.
Right.
And if you can help me get into your world more, then I can give you a solution. And it ended up where we were able to kind of come to an agreement of what the next steps are.
Okay.
But I would not have gotten that far if he wouldn't have disclosed more. Yeah. So that's what I would encourage Black and brown business owners who's looking for banking partners to be open with them.
Okay. But where you find your strength? I'm not a professional. I am a therapist, so you got to answer the question.
So it's all fair. So So 2 years ago, I took advantage of a study where I had to learn sort of what my strength is, and so we took the DISC training, and I'm an influencer. Yeah. So based upon my personality,
what color was that? Was that green or yellow?
That's yellow.
Yellow.
That's yellow. So
that's basically inside baseball for you.
Yeah. So anything dealing with promotion, whether it's being outgoing, as Quentin said, bring people together. That's me, and I think from a standpoint of just making sure that everyone that comes in my presence feels good, leaving whatever the situation might be, is what I want to get at there once we've communicated as such. Yeah. And so I would say my strength, to answer your question, Eric, hopefully I did, is being the influencer.
Okay. No, it's a old profession. You ask a client a question, they gotta give you the answer. All right. Brother Marcus.
All right.
What's up, man?
What's up? I'm ready to answer.
You ready?
I'm ready to answer.
So you're in the nonprofit sector, which is very heavy. And I had the opportunity to be a part of one of your events, and where they gave out tons of money, right? Not tons of money, but gave out money. I shouldn't say it like that. I apologize.
Thank you for clarifying.
Gave out money to businesses. It was tons to me because I didn't get a big check. Anyway. But no, just seriously. But I love the event. Right, it was all Black and brown people there, and I think the CEO that's CEO, Mike, right?
Michael Jeans.
Yeah, black male, right?
Correct.
That's right. So you work in the nonprofit sector, which once again, just like everybody else, when they look into the Black and brown community and working with them, right?
Yes.
Other small businesses, just like like Jerome, they come to you and get some money. They come to you and get guidance. They come to you and get direction. So that got to get heavy for you. So working in the industry that you work in, where do you find your strength?
Yeah. So my background before I joined Growth House was in risk management. Actually, that's where Quentin and I met working in the insurance industry. So hearing some of the things that Jerome has shared that bankers face, because I work with ex-bankers. So, people talk to Jerome, people in Jerome's position will often refer people kind of to us to have a conversation with them, and a real conversation where we ask people to be a little vulnerable in what they're sharing with us. And I'm going to get to the part about the strength, but one of the things that I'm hearing is sometimes people are guarded because it's hard to just trust someone when you first start engaging with them in our community. Sometimes we've been taken advantage of at times.
Oh yes,
so, just giving our full trust right away, that's something that you have to build up to. So I look at our history when we talk about our strength. I get my strength from looking into the past and looking at the challenges that my ancestors faced, my grandparents, my great-grandparents, how they were able to overcome that for me to even be sitting here today. Like if they could be strong then, I have to find a way to do that today. And then looking at the present, I take my strength from my parents, my sister, my family and friends. I try and surround myself with people that are smarter than me.
I know the feeling.
So that's why I'm in this room right now with all of you, because each one of you, I like to try and pull something from you guys as well. So that's where I get my strength. And then I try and transfer that to the work that I do and who I engage with.
And the beauty of it is that, we got a couple minutes before the break. Each one of us are fathers, right? Each one of us are fathers, right? Does everyone have a male? No? Oh,
2 girls for me.
I was going to say, you can just talk. It's okay. 2 girls. Okay. We're all fathers. And so there's this concept of attack, right? So not obviously, but I grew up in a single, parent household. And along the, what else went along with my distrust or discomfort or uncomfortableness with Black males is not having a father around. And I found in being a father, it's one of the most difficult, I don't have the baby, so let's be real about it. But I find is that I had a difficult time in letting go some of the demons of absence. And so letting go of the demons of absence, what I did, because my oldest son is 25. So my oldest son is 25. I've been a father for 25 years, right? And I just remember the amount of time that I overdid it, right? And later on, I knew what I was doing was overcompensating for things that I didn't have, right? Or didn't know, right? That's a defense mechanism. So some of the emotions that I was having anxiety, I was having depression. I went through about a depression, and it, what stood out was this concept that I didn't want to disappoint my kids like my dad disappointed me. So what I struggled with was, in those first couple years in being a parent, was not actually, disappointing, my kids. So I want to, on the other side, what I want to do is just bring that up. I just want you guys just to talk about being, parent and, being a parent. I think Jerome has talked to me about being a father, right? And his father and his relationship. And I love hearing those stories. And just so that you know, I think everybody, maybe even Quentin. So Jerome's, family attends church with my wife's family. So that's one. And then I met Marcus at an event. And then Quentin stayed around the corner from me all these years. So the beauty of it is that not only if you allow yourself to open up a little bit, right, challenge those schemas that you have in your mind, you get to figure out who is just 5 minutes away, 10 minutes away. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back on the other side, and we're going to talk about this concept of being a father and attempting to, at least for you, Jerome, show your daughters how to find someone who understands the concept of keeping a brother, but also, you two, who has, male children, and, what does it mean to be a brother's keeper, and it may not be something that, may pop up in your head or that you were taught. So we're going to take a quick break. This is Unapologetically Strong on WOVU 95.9 FM. Welcome back. Unapologetically Strong. I'm your host, Eric King. So we got Marcus, we got Jerome, we got Quentin. What I want to start with is this concept of brothers keepers, right? So we didn't, as I said on the other side of the break, is I had to learn certain things. And one of the things that troubled me that first, I'm going to say 5 years of being a father, is how do I do this thing? And how do I produce or help, not produce, but raise, because he's already produced, raise a individual not to be, not a stereotype, but just be worth something, right? Somebody looks at him like, all right, so he's somebody I want to take. So just so that you know, Christian, big shout out. He works for Cleveland Clinic, got his social justice degree, right? And he's, survive the daddy experience. But what I want to do is go ahead, Quentin, being or teaching a young man how to be, their brother's keeper. Can you talk a little bit about how you're working with your son in doing that?
Yeah. And first of all, Eric, thanks for sharing your experience.
Yeah.
It really resonated, and I can relate to that because there's no instruction, but
right.
And some of us had more example than others,
right,
from different places,
right,
so on and so forth. But, so, just to share a little bit about, my son, myself, I was an older dad, starting out 38 years old when I had Jackson. And I'll leave it there as not to give my age, but, so he's going into the 5th grade. So let me just say that. And, I'm going back to the strength question.
Mm-hmm.
He actually popped into my mind because, he's an only kid. He's my only son.
Mm-hmm.
And fortunately for him, at some stages, and I know it won't last too long, I'm like a Superman to this little dude. And he's like, I have all the answers.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't.
Yeah.
But I think what I've come to realize, because I've been, I guess, a little less self-centric about thinking about raising him, the village.
Yeah.
What has been valuable to me are those who have shown up for me, and they're just consistently and continue to show up. So, I've put a lot less pressure on myself to be perfect, to have all the answers, but just to be there, to show up for him and help him and guide him in the best way that I can. And also use that same concept I talked about in the first segment of, using my tribe. I don't have the answers, but I have a lot of people around me that have different answers and different examples that they can share with them as well. So, I think I draw from that.
I love that
in terms of experience and giving him so that he can be, take the journey in a way that makes him a success like your son.
And that's the part, right? Because this is a journey. Being a person, being a father, whether it is a toddler, newborn, all the way up to, like I said, my son is 25. And so it is a journey. And knowing that you can't necessarily break them, but there are times where you can scar them. And that's the part. So Marcus, you have 2 boys, right?
I do.
You have 2 boys. Now, was different. So, and hopefully this doesn't. Your wife is Dominican.
She is.
Right.
Yes.
So you have two separate cultures in the house, which is also, the culture of having boys is just terrible anyway. But can you when you're teaching these kids, right? Yes. Because mom is Dominican, you're African American or Black American, you're teaching these kids about what brotherhood or family means. It can mean something different in 2 different cultures. How do you find yourself balancing this out?
I am fortunate that one of the most important things that you can do is be cautious in who you choose as a spouse and a life partner. So I am fortunate that I feel I picked the right one, kind of for me. And I know she may be listening right now. It's Valentine's Day. So happy Valentine's Day to all the everyone out
all
there.
The lovers out there.
Everyone out there.
I put the voice on all the lovers out there. But no.
There you go. So my boys are 9 and 12. And, bringing together 2 cultures, for me, you just have to be mindful of that there are 2 different cultures, be open to different experiences and exposing, your kids to as much as possible. So we try and bring in both cultures and kind of doing that. But I take a lot of example from my biggest mentor was my dad. My dad showed up at everything that I was involved in, every sporting event, every school event, my dad was there. So I saw the importance of that. I won't say that I always listened.
You didn't.
Yeah.
You did.
But now I look back on things. I'm like, man, that brother was really wise.
After 25, they get smarter. Parents get smart after 25.
Really wise. Like everything that he was trying to teach me. And now I'm trying to pass that along to my boys. I realized there was a lot of wisdom in the things that he was sharing with me. So I try and follow that example of supporting them in every way, that I can, and encouraging them in the household. To take care of each other because we are family.
While beating each other up.
It starts there, but we try and end with a hug or a pound or something at the end, so that we could be a strong unit. But that's where it starts, and kind of ends for me.
I like that. So boys, man, I don't want to go there. So Jerome, you have 2 young ladies. I mean, and that is a different type of. So I also have a girl. And I do find, so on Valentine's Day, and also once a month, I take, my daughter out, we take her out to breakfast. And on Valentine's Day, since she was little, I've always bought her something on Valentine's Day. So I bought mom something, obviously. And then, Katie, that's my baby, bought her something as well. So you're raising daughters in this world and teaching. And what I find is, I become worried about the quality of male that my children or my daughter will have access to. Can you talk a little bit about how you helping them find someone who understand how to keep a brother? Right.
This topic is near and dear to my heart because my wife and I, we have these continued conversations in regards to them. I think one of the things that we're hoping for is whenever, and my daughters are 16, 13, so they're teenagers right now, that when they start to date, that they make wise choices when it comes to who they date. And my wife always tells me, she goes, well, they idolize you as their father. Right. And so they're going to always look for a guy that's sort of similar to the traits of your dad, of their dad. Not the full dad.
Right. No, I get it.
But some of the traits. And because you have a relationship with them, they're going to actually make wise decisions when it comes to that, we hope. Yeah. And so with girls, that's the hope. And my wife does a great job, and I gotta give a shout out to her because she is the rock of that household, you know, and so forth. And matter of fact, Marcus mentioned Happy Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day to my wife. 20 years marriage coming up in August, so definitely blessed to have her. But certainly, you know, she's kind of told me, hey, you know, they look up to you, and so them looking up to you and knowing how it is to be a man, you have to trust that they're gonna, you know, make good decisions when it comes to that. And so I just encourage fathers, whether you have boys or girls, just have that relationship with your children and keep it going as they grow and as they mature, because as they get to be adults, like your son being 25, you said, Eric, that they won't forget about the lessons that they learned from you as they're growing up, and that your relationship will even strengthen. Like my parents, I'm definitely blessed to still have them. I probably talk to them, if not every day, probably 6 of the 7 days in a week, just to kind of make sure that they're good. And you know, they've been married for 55 years coming up. God bless them. 55, double nickel. Yeah, man. Double nickel. Wow. Double nickel. And so looking at their relationship and looking how they raised me. And you know, how if there's always a question I have about parenting, they always say, well, you know what? It's trial and error. There really is no book when it comes to parenting. And so you do the best you can. And as they grow, they'll remember and they'll admire you. And then once they become adults and then they start having children, then they'll get it.
Okay.
They'll get it.
Now, remember, this is interactive, so you can ask each other questions. But what I do want to say. So yes, I have a 25-year-old son. And I've been married for 17 years. So what is this? So how does this work? Right. The math ain't mathing. So I had my son. So I had my son when I was in college at University of Akron. Right. And this is what I understood. I understood that I had to do better. And you cannot do better than the previous, but you can make sure that you don't create the same, you know, struggles. So what I did was ensure that this individual that has to grow up outside of my home, I ensure that he got a good enough father. Right. And with all the things that I have, you know, going on, you know, had going on in my life, I had to make sure that he was good enough. And then there were some sacrifices that I had to make. Right. When I got married, my wife went to school in Tennessee and she wanted to go back to Tennessee. And in order for us to, you know, stay together, she had to let go of her desire to move back down south. Why did she have to? She didn't have to. Let's be perfectly candid. I mean, I'm not all that much of a catch. So it's, you know, it was hit or miss, right? But she chose to. Let's use that word. She chose to remain. And I said, I can't go anywhere until my son is 18. I just can't. And so obviously he's over 18, but I knew I needed to do better with respect to the staying up and being present. And so now, you know, I have 2 other kids, right? So I have my middle child, which is Eric Jr. And then I have my youngest child, which is Caitlin. And what I'm also finding is it is very different to raise 2 types of different kids, right? One child was raised outside the home and 2 is being raised on the inside of the home. And I know that I had to be intentional. So we're going to take our break a little earlier. That way we can get that third segment, make sure that we get some resources out there. But if anybody want to talk about just, you know, I'm not sure, you know, Jerome, you grew up in a household of, you know, intact, but, you know, that experience of possibly having 2 different households, right? As a child, I had 2 different households. Well, no, I didn't actually. I had one household, but I had a parent outside the home, but I never really, you know, stayed in contact, you know, with them and their, you know, my brothers and sisters. I have a sister who's in England and now we're just talking, right? She works for Amnesty International in England. And so, you know, now we're just talking, but, you know, growing up or raising kids, you know, outside the home versus raising 2 kids inside the home is a vastly different thing. So we're going to take a quick break. This is WOVU 95.9 FM. Welcome back. So this is the last segment. You brothers have stayed with me and partied with me. So, you know, before the break, we had I was talking about raising kids in two separate homes. And I'm not sure if anybody had this experience, but I did. And it has been difficult because, to be perfectly honest, what the middle child saw versus, and how the older brother would get away with things is what he would say, caused him, and I think still cause him, a bit of anger at times, because he didn't necessarily understand that he has rules. It's just different when he's here, and your rules are universally here. So anybody can jump in on this one.
Yeah, Eric. Well, first of all, I think we need to clear up something.
Okay.
You implied in the strengths segment that Marcus had the strongest hairline.
What? But wait.
But you know what? I just want you to know this was arbitrary, so I still got mine going on. Okay, but now that we got that cleared up.
You see, that was sitting with him because he had to bring that back before the end of this last segment.
I wanted to get that out.
Okay. I apologize.
But on a serious note,
but go ahead.
You and me have a similar experience that I grew up in two households.
Okay.
And, I was fortunate enough to also experienced my dad's household, my mom's household. They were different. But what I think you're doing, in your family, the choices you made, it was so valuable for me to have that experience, with both households and have the lessons and have the connectedness of both, because it's part of our identity. It's part of, so much that we take. It's part of the strength that I've talked about so much. And I know it was like for a couple years through some turbulence to not have that, and really be, just connected to one side of the family. So, I would just say, first of all, kudos from those lessons that you took. And then to just share with, our broader audience, as part of my experience, that's a very valuable thing, to still be connected in the best way that you can, as much as you can to participate and show up. We all mentioned, just showing up and being there. Jerome, might contribute. I mean, there's a lot of lessons in 55 years of marriage for, his 55 folks, and 20 years. Congratulations to you and your wife. And then also to Marcus for their longevity and their connectedness. So, just think that adds value. I hope that can help.
No, it does. And well, I'll jump on this. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so my wife and I, 16 years that we're at. My parents married since 68. So they've got some longevity. How long? Too. Since 68. Since 68.
Okay. I was about to say 68. No.
Do the math.
No, I got to do the math. Okay, go ahead.
But one thing I would add, not two different households. That wasn't my experience, but I'll just say from a parenting perspective, raising, like two boys, like what I've learned is, what worked with the first one. Yeah. You can't just copy and paste to the second one, because they are two different individuals. So
they're crazy. Kids are crazy. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. So they can be a handful at times and present many opportunities for me to grow as a parent, and just trying to understand how to parent two different individuals. So that's one thing. Like I know I don't have all the answers, but I'm glad that I do have that tribe that I can reach out to, whether it's those that are in the room or my parents, even to ask them, for a little bit of guidance in facing those challenges. What's
crazy is that you used to get, and I think maybe not. I remember getting ridiculed. Not ridicule, or what did they bully? There you go. Growing up, because I didn't have a father around. I just had mom, and they were broken up. But now it seems like kids are getting ridiculed for having intact parents. Have you heard this? No. Really?
I have not. But I'm not
like you get talked about because your parents are still together, right? And even what's funny is D.L. Hughley has a segment that says, this song is when your parents were still together. To where you're right. Okay, so y'all have never heard of this? With Jerome?
No, this is new to me.
What type of kid y'all got?
I'm doing hold on. I'm gonna make a note here to make sure I ask my kids when they get home from school today to see if they've heard this. But wow, okay.
Yeah. There's a one of my buddies, fraternity members. He and I would go back and forth. He would say these kids are soft now because they got 2-parent households. And
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what he said.
I'm disappointed to hear like that this is happening.
Yeah.
Because it just creates a poor narrative.
It does.
And that's why it's important for me to show up.
It is.
Kind of to everything to counter if that is happening.
Yeah.
To counter that.
Yeah, I can't believe you guys never heard. Even the concept that marriage is for white people. Y'all haven't heard that either?
I've heard that. But
you've heard.
Then again, when you got, I don't know if we can mention the artist, but probably not the content. But Sexy Red is top of the charts and some things like that. There's some different messaging that we got to compete with. So to Marcus's point, I think we got to be that other voice to say,
So we're all in the same age group. Do your kids look at you weird when you play? Like I can't play any other.
Yes.
You said yes. Yes. and like when me and my wife start dancing, like they just lose it.
And we do it on purpose.
On purpose.
Yeah.
I love to embarrass my kids. I know but this is about getting them stronger. What you about to say, Jerome?
No, I was just gonna say so
because they soft. I'm sorry.
Well, so social media is something that's coming to vogue now, obviously. And one thing that I thought would connect my girls to my wife and I would be some of the music. No. And when you look on TikTok, when you look on, I guess it's X, some of the content where they have music in the background, it's Tupac, it's Big, it's Black Star.
Yeah.
It's artists from the 90s. And, I bob my head or, I put my hand in the air and they look at me crazy like, what are you doing?
Right. Why are you doing that? And why are you?
Yeah. Stay in your lane as dad. I'm like, here's the thing. I'm like, wait a minute. Stay in your lane as dad. I go, this is what the young people are. Man. That song is about 40 years old.
Man, let me tell you. They listened to, one day my son was listening to DMX. And I said, what? I said, how angry are you? What's going on? You got a son, Mark. What? I called you Marcus, but Quentin, you got a, like, what are you listening to? Do you listen to the same thing?
90s is heavy in our household, but he even listens to Stevie Wonder. I think the fact that our music is so accessible. Yeah. And I hate to brag, but I think our generation.
Don't brag. It's true.
It's true.
We're the best.
I agree with you.
Yes, we're the best.
So he's listening to that, but he's also listening to this new stuff that we got to kind of
to the crackhead stuff. No. Actually, the crackhead stuff was back in our days. I don't know what you call this stuff.
Now, I'll admit the music these days, I don't understand it.
We sound old.
I was just.
Were you just about to say that?
Yeah.
I'm waiting on.
It's probably viewed that
right.
Yeah,
It
wasn't the Temptations. It wasn't Marvin Gaye. It was different. Yeah. What we were listening to.
Yeah. No. That same thought came up last summer. We were in Las Vegas and Nelly was there.
Yeah.
And so they know some of the songs that they know. Hiding to hear some of the songs that he did, but and they only know that because of the Baltimore Ravens. That's Ray Lewis's when he played. Yeah. That was his music. But it's interesting that my parents when I would play Boogie Down Productions or Airbnb and Rakim, they would say, "What are they saying? What are they saying?"
Productions. Go on.
Shout out to KRS-One.
Yes.
And actually, Airbnb and Rakim is a nominee for the Rock Hall. I saw that last week.
Oh, I didn't see.
So shout out. Hopefully they can make it.
That's a whole nother show.
Yeah. But no, but they were looking at me when I would play that music back in the day, and I would say, well, I'm listening to more of the beat and not necessarily what they're saying. Yeah. Now as an adult, I'm listening to what they're saying.
You got to.
And it's a difference because when you listen to what they're saying before, what they're saying now, they're talking about two totally different things.
Yeah. Yes, and that's a whole nother story.
We have to come back and do
we're going to have to come back. And also, did anyone ever go to Freaknik here? Anyone? No?
No.
Okay, that's...
I saw like documentaries on it, but I've not been to actual.
I've never been, and the Hulu documentary is coming out. But so we got a whole nother show of generational buffoonery that we can talk about, but we're not gonna do that. So let's close this out. We got a couple minutes, and what I want to do is just go around the room and just really we're gonna start with to my left.
Yep,
Marcus. Keeping the concept of keeping, my brother's keeper. What are some things you want to impart to some people that are listening? We got a couple. Yeah, we got to be quick. Short.
The one thing I would encourage people to do is just check in on each other. If you have a loved one or someone that you haven't spoken to in a while and you've been meaning to reach out to them, pick up the phone. Checking in on them is not looking at their Instagram right. or their Facebook. Yeah, exactly. Pick up the phone, even send a text just to make that contact because we have to look after each other.
All right.
Yeah, I agree. But just to keep it probably equally as short or shorter, be present when you're checking in, really key in and listen and be there because that means, the quality of the time probably means more than the quantity. So
love it. What you got?
On the way out, late great basketball coach Jim Valvano made a comment is one of his last speeches before he passed away. He said, if you can do 3 things every day, 1 is laugh, 2 is think, 3 is show emotion where it might not lead you to cry, but it gets you emotional. If you do those 3 things every day, that's a heck of a day.
Man, I love that. So I want to thank you guys for being a part of this show, because you guys have done had amazing impact on me as an individual. And I just thank you guys. And it feels good to actually look across, this table and see, Black males that are doing amazing things while being a father, while being everything else. So this is Unapologetically Strong. I'll catch you next week on 95.9 FM. Peace.